Growing up, my mother, Evelyn, absolutely detested me. I was an only child, and it was made very clear that I was, and as she put it, the worst mistake she had ever made. I know the circumstances of my birth by heart, as she practically branded the words into my brain. My mother was 19, beautiful and free, brilliant, she told me, and a beauty pageant starlet. She had just won Miss Bricktown and was on her way to becoming Miss Oklahoma. That was, of course, until she fell ill. By falling ill, she meant she was pregnant with me. She told me I ruined her. I stole her from the spotlight. I sucked the life out of her, with everything it took to birth and raise me. What she won't tell you is that she didn't just fall ill, she fell right into a male judge who promised her a shining crown. If you ask her though, she'll never admit it. How in her eyes I might as well have been some twisted, immaculate conception. From this you can guess how horrible my childhood was. She spit venom every time she spoke to me, and though she never hit me, she never knew how to instill a deeper and more personal pain to me. I did whatever I could to try and to impress her, either being in clubs, sports. I was even student body president, but nothing worked. She detested me and viewed me as the only thing that ruined her life. The final straw was when I turned 16. At this age, I had finally and well enough matured. I began to take after my mother's looks. She must have noticed because one day after school I came home to a large, frilly pink dress sitting on my bed. She had signed me up for some beauty pageant 2 towns over, but this is when I had finally had enough. I was not going to let her ignore and berate me my whole life and necessarily try and live variously through me. Absolutely not. I anticipated to cut off all contact and begin living with a friend of mine. I graduated and went to college and got happily married. I have a lovely life and that never existed under her roof. Now I am 26 and just had my first child, a baby girl I named Lydia. Last night the message came in from a number I didn't recognize. Adriana, it's Evelyn. You should be receiving my package any day now. I stared at my phone, dumbfounded. I had changed my number several times in the last 10 years and had no living relatives anymore to give her my new one. I collected myself and replied, "Who is this actually? Is this some kind of sick joke?" The next text came in quickly. "I see you never lost your attitude, did you? I will be visiting my sweet granddaughter, XXO Mimi." I knew it wasn't true. She didn't even know what state I live and let know my address. I didn't know who was pulling such a sick prank on me, but I blocked the number promptly. The next couple of days I completely forgot about the exchange. The number was blocked and that was it. That was until I opened my door one evening, found a small lavender box on my front porch. On top of the box was glittery bow with a note tied to it reading, to Lydia, love, Mimi. No shipping label, no return address, just those 4 horrifying words. With shaking hands, I brought the box inside and untied the ribbons to keep it together. Inside was a pink frilly dress, the same one my mother bought for me when I was 16. Only this one was small enough to fit a very young child. My hand shot over my mouth in horror. Whoever was pulling this twisted little stunt had taken it too far. This was sick. I grabbed my phone and dialed my husband as quickly as I could. The call failed immediately. He had gone on some stupid bachelor party ski trip, and just my luck had no service. My husband wasn't enough. I went to dial 911 before the next text came in from another unrecognized number. A lovely dress for the scooter, Starlight. It's a point to start treating them early. I'll be there shortly to help out. XOXO, Mimi. Listen here, you sick freak. I sighed vigorously. I don't know who you are and what game you're playing, but you better leave my family alone before I get the cops involved. I blocked the number again. I felt exhausted and sick. I hope that type of threat of the police would be enough for this to stop. I grabbed Lydia from her playpen and held her in my arms tight before hauling two of us into bed and going to sleep. I decided that my little girl was not leaving my side until this whole thing blew over. I'll admit, even if I did think it was a joke, I was getting uneasy. The unease grew into genuine fear the following morning. I woke to about my daughter crying, burrowed into my chest. I peered open my sleep-crusted eyes and immediately did a double take. Perched on top of my baby's head was a small silver tiara. I could feel the acid rising in my throat at the sight. I knew it wasn't ours, as I refused to get my daughter anything even slightly related to pageantry due to the trauma of my youth. I jumped out of bed and practically sprinted to my front door. It was wide open. Someone had been in my home. The only people who knew the keypad lock code were my husband and I. How had someone been in my home? I called the police. They showed up and inspected my home. All they could tell me was that if nothing was stolen, then I should get security cameras and install new locks. Pissed was an understatement. But I did as they instructed. The new lock would be here the next day, and the cameras would be here for the next week. This was too long for comfort. Things were clearly escalating, and I didn't know if I even had it till the day after tomorrow. What that even meant, I hardly knew. I was in a panic frenzy. I had barely hit submit order when the next message came in, again from a new unknown number. You are being very rude, Addie. I will see my grandbaby whether you like it or not. And I will be damned if you let some silly lock keep me out. This is my right. You may have ruined me, but I will not let you ruin that little girl too. This time I fully threw up. Addie. It was a name only my mother called me as a child. I never used it with anyone else. No one else could have known this sick little pet. This no longer felt like a trick. The truth boiled up like last night's dinner. This was her. My mother had found me after all these years. Through welling tears, I replied, I don't know how you found me. And I don't care. This is my family, not yours. If you come anywhere near my daughter again, I swear to God, I will kill you. The next step came in moments later. You can try. I will see you this evening for dinner. XOXO, Mimi. I spent the rest of my day in a panic. I barricaded every door and window to my house. I was taking absolutely no chances. What the hell was I so scared of? At this point, she must have been 45. Surely I would be able to overpower her if it came to that, right? I put my daughter down to bed at 7:30. After triple checking that there was no way in or out of this house, I sat in my kitchen, waiting. As I expected, another text came in. This was a text with a single image. An image of my home. An image of me in the window, eyes filled with fear. Another message came in that simple. And all I could simply read was, I'm here. My animal instincts kicked in. If she was here, I was going to face her. By God, I was absolutely not going to be afraid of this woman. I will not allow her any more to control over my life. I was going to end this. I pulled the armchair out from in front of the door, tearing apart my barricade I had been so worried about before, and stormed into my front lawn, knife still in hand. That's when I saw her. She was standing, unmoving, unblinking, in my neighbor's front lawn directly across the street, wearing my pink Philly dress and impossible tall silver crown. As I walked closer, I began to realize something was horribly wrong with her. The dress she was wearing looked torn to shreds. It was covered in deep brown stains. I swear I could smell it from where I stood. Not only that, but she was completely deformed. Her once long blonde, curly hair was now made matted and gray. It looked as though it had begun falling out of her head in clumps, leaving large bald patches. She was impossibly thin. Her now pale, yellow-tinged skin stretched paper-thin over a sharp bone. There were green, pus-filled pockets along her arms and legs that looked almost like mold. Then her face. Oh, dear God, her face. It was like something from a horror movie. Her lips seemed to have receded, showing thick black gums and yellow cracked teeth. The lack of lip did not stop her from painting a cherry red ring around her petrified smile. Her eyes seemed to have shrunk back into their sockets. Smoky eye makeup made them look like deeply bruised pits. She raised a single ruddy hand and gave me a beauty queen wave, turning her wrist back and forward. I let out a blood-curdling scream before quickly turning around and bolting back inside. I slammed the door behind me, returned to my armchair now into its defense position, and ran into my kitchen window, but she was gone. I thought of calling the police, but they had been useless already. No, this was my fight, and something suddenly knew. Oh God, what was wrong with her? For the first time in my life, I decided to look my mother up on internet. I don't know what compelled me to, but I had to know what was happening. I couldn't just sit here like a sitting duck for that monster to come back. I typed her name into the search bar. The first few articles were old, simply retellings of her pageant winnings and interviews from 10 years ago. Then I saw an article from this year, 2 months ago to be exact. It was a scanned image of a newspaper article, far smaller and less extravagant than the others from her youth. Crammed to the bottom of the page, the article detailed a couple who was taking a morning walk when they stumbled upon the unmoving body. I'll give you 2 guesses as to who it was. I bet you only needed 1. She had overdosed. She was a crackhead. My mother, my perfect ever bragging mother, a crackhead. More importantly than that, she was dead. Only she wasn't dead, she was outside. I saw her living and breathing. I tried to rationalize, only to realize that thing I saw outside could have not been living and breathing. My breath short and my stomach empty onto the kitchen floor once again. My heart began to beat out in this chest when the last message came in. I'm coming in now. I'm going to see my grandbaby. XOXO, Mimi. I'm sitting here now in my daughter's room trying to not wake her. I can feel the tears streaking down my face. This last message came in 5 minutes ago and the knocking started 2 minutes ago. I can't move. I'm frozen with fear. My poor baby is sleeping soundly behind me with no clue to what horrors are happening around her. I don't know what to do. My mother knocks have finally ceased. I can hear her punching the keypad. It's too late. That thing is here. She found me. I still have my knife. I hope to God that I have the strength to use it. Lydia, if by some miracle you find it someday, please know that I love you. And that I plan not to go out fighting to protect you. And I'm so sorry. Hi, I want to say thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's been a while, but I'm going to try to post much more now because I'm a free